All right, welcome back, guys, and thank you for joining ALANA Workshop Series number 3. Today, we'll be focusing on research, and we have a guest here to kind of lead us through. So, we have David. He is the Library Associate Professor who's going to talk to us a little bit about some of the ECU Library resources, how to find scholarly journal databases, citation resources, and the overall gist of research. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you, David.
Hey, thank you so much. I appreciate getting a few minutes of your time today to talk about the library and to talk about doing research at your library. My name is David Heisel, and I'm putting my email address in chat right now. I'm going to show you, where you can find good information, some effective ways to find information for your projects at the library. I'm also going to show you some different ways to get in contact with the folks who work in my department. I work in the Research and Instructional Services Department. A big part of our job is assisting you with the research that you do while you're here at ECU. So that might be a class this semester, that might be next year. As long as you're here, do know that you have a whole department at the library, focused and dedicated to helping you connect with the information that you need, hopefully getting any questions answered. Like I said, I'm going to show you how to contact my department, but if you ever wanted to email me directly with any library or research related questions, I'd love to hear from you. I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen now. Okay, we're looking at the Joiner Library homepage. That's at library.ecu.edu. This is going to sort of be the home base for most of what I show you today. We'll jump from location to location on the library website, but this is always going to be home base, and this is where anything that I talk about today is going to be linked. But before we do get started, I wanted to walk you through a couple of the services you might find helpful, as you're doing research for your particular projects. And if at any point you have a question, please don't hesitate to interrupt me or drop it in chat. I'll try and keep an eye on the chat to get any of your questions answered. What I definitely wanted to cover today. Wanted to let you know when we're physically open. I wanted to let you know about our study rooms if you're not already using them, about some of the major collections in the building you may want to know about interlibrary loan. That's where we get books, located at other libraries for you, and then generally how to get help from a librarian. I wanted to talk about research. We were just on the library homepage. You saw that search box there on the homepage. We call that OneSearch. And for many projects, by no means all, but for many projects, that's a great place to get started with your research. As that research gets more in depth, you'll find library databases to be a terrific place to look for information. In particular, to look for those sort of gold standard in research, scholarly and peer-reviewed articles. So we'll talk about those in just a minute as well. Finally, I definitely wanted to cover how to set up effective searches. I do see the issue from time to time with the students that I talk to, where they're in the right place to look for the kind of information that they need, but the keywords, the search terms that they're using just aren't connecting them with good information. So I wanted to sort of set up a sample search to show you how I at least approach setting up that first search for information. And then we'll cover citing your sources and as a way of avoiding plagiarism. Most of the library tools, OneSearch, the databases, will include some feature where they will auto-generate citations for you. So whether you need, MLA or APA or some other format, you should be able to auto-generate citations there. They're not 100% accurate all the time, so you're going to want to give them a look over. Double check the capitalization, the order of things, but they certainly do the heavy lifting for you when it comes to citing. And as I'm sure you know, citing your sources is the best way to avoid plagiarism. Just so you know, for the remainder of the fall of 2020, these are going to be the physical operating hours for the library. On Sundays, we open at noon and we close at 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, we're opening at 8 a.m. and then we're closing at 8 p.m. Friday, we're opening at 8, but we're closing at 5. And then Saturday, we're open from 10 until 5. It may be, rather than physically needing to use the library to use the collections, you just need to speak to somebody who works in the library. It might be about the research that you're doing, or it might be about your library account. Know that we're available in a lot of different ways, whatever's most convenient for you. We're available by chat, and you'll see a chat button right there on the library homepage. And from 8 in the morning until 8 p.m. Most evenings, the folks working in my department will be on the other end of that chat. You can get your questions answered. We're also available by phone. You can see our phone number there, and I'll show you where you can find it on the homepage. If you want to send us a text message with a quick question, we welcome those. If you want to send us an email where you can sort of lay out your research question in a little more detail, just sort of organize your question, we love to get those. And then finally, we have a book a librarian service. And I did want to plug this for just a brief moment. What the book a librarian service is you select a time that's convenient for you as soon as next day, and then sit down with one of the librarians in my department one-on-one to go over the kind of research that you're doing, the kinds of sources that you need to find for that paper. Usually folks leave those book a librarian consultation sessions with articles, with books they didn't have when they came in, and then a much better sense of how to find information in the future. And I'll show you where that link's located in just a moment. If you are physically in the building and you would like to speak to us, you'll see here on the map that the research desk is in the back of the first floor. So we all come into the building where you see the black arrow there at the entrance. You can turn left and head to Starbucks. But if you walk all the way down the main hallway to that big open area in the back where all the computers are, that's where you're going to find my desk. And we should have somebody on that desk from 8 in the morning until 6 p.m. at night, and then we're available virtually from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. I also wanted to point out that the circulation desk is right up there at the front of the building. So if you need to check out books or you need to check out equipment, for example, a laptop, as soon as you come into the building, just head over to that big circulation desk along with your one card, and they'll check out to you what you need. It's also one place you can go to return books. In addition to the hundreds of thousands of books on the shelves, the government documents that Joiner Library collects on your behalf, the thousands of films we have, DVD, Blu-ray. We also do check out a lot of equipment, laptops, of course, but you may be working in a class where there's some sort of a multimedia component where you need to record a video for class. We have video cameras available for checkout. We have digital cameras available for checkout, microphones, tripods, and we're always adding to this list, molecule kits. We just recently added infrared cameras. So if there ever is a piece of equipment you need for a class project or just for a personal project, just bring your one card to the circulation desk, and they'd love to check that out to you. I did want to also remind you, we have group and individual study rooms located in the building. So if you're working on a project with a couple of classmates, you're welcome to reserve any of these group study rooms. They run from the basement up to the third floor for up to 2 hours a day. Some of those rooms have large monitors as well. So somebody on your team can connect a laptop, or you can check out a laptop, connect that, and I'll be working off of the same monitor. At present, the group study rooms, we've limited the capacity to 3 people per room. So do keep that in mind when you reserve these. One thing I hear from a good number of students is that they really need a quiet place to study, to really focus on their reading, their writing, their research while they're here in the building. The third floor is our official quiet floor. But I wanted you to know we also have these individual study rooms. You can reserve them for up to 6 hours a day. Probably as close as you're going to get to real solitude, to real isolation here in the building. And for the fall second block, at least, you're required to wear a mask while you're in Joiner. If you find that distracting, you can certainly check out one of these individual study rooms, and as long as you have the door closed, you can take that mask off. So you can reserve those right off of the Joiner Library homepage, or you can get in touch with my desk at any time, and we'd be happy to place that reservation for you. Now, as you do your research, as you do your searches for information, using OneSearch on the homepage or the library catalog, you're going to see items from Joiner Library, but you'll also see other items from other ECU libraries. So I just wanted to sort of give you a quick overview of what those are and what they contain. The music library is a branch of Joiner, and it's located in the Fletcher Music Building. There's a good chance you won't need to use their resources while you're here at ECU. But if you are looking for music biographies, music themed books, scores, all those materials are available over in the music library, which is located in the Fletcher Building. You're welcome to use their library, anytime, even if it's just to stop in and check your email. If you need their materials and you don't want to head all the way over to the other side of campus, you can click pull hold on any item record and let us know that you need it. We'll have it sent over to Joiner, and you can check it out at our circulation desk as well. And that goes for Laupus Health Science Library as well. They're located over on the medical side of campus, over by the hospital. You're welcome to use their library at any time. If your apartment's on that side of town and it's a more convenient location for you to go there to study, you're welcome to do that. Often when folks are working on topics and they relate in some way to medicine or to nursing, but also to things like nutrition, the books that they're looking for are located at Laupus Health Science Library. We can have those shipped over to Joiner to pick up if that's more convenient for you. Just let us know. I did want to point out that we have a pretty extensive special collections at Joiner Library. Depending on the kind of research that you're doing, it can be helpful. But in particular, if there's ever any kind of North Carolina theme to your project, it might be North Carolina history, art in North Carolina politics. All of those materials are going to be located in our North Carolina collection up on the third floor. And if you're ever curious about some of the materials that are located in our special collections, and our special collections tend to be unique, one-of-a-kind items, things like old letters, photographs, journals, diaries, the personal papers of notable artists or politicians. We have a good amount of that, just a fraction, but thousands and thousands of items digitized and located in our digital collections. So if you're interested in North Carolina history, the region's history, the campus's history, there's a lot of terrific materials that have been digitized and are available online in our digital collections. The last collection I really wanted to point out to you was the Teaching Resource Center. Now, as you do your searches for information in OneSearch and the library catalog, you're gonna plug in your search terms and the topic that you're researching. You're gonna see items from the Teaching Resource Center show up in your search results. Just know that the Teaching Resource Center exists primarily to serve the College of Education. They support a lot of area educators as well. The books in their collection are primarily written for K through 12 audiences. And this is terrific if you're in education, if that's your field. These are great materials for putting together the projects that you're assigned. If you're not in education, if you're looking for in-depth college level research materials, I would encourage you to skip the TRC or Teaching Resource Center search results you get, or at least give them some added scrutiny. They're probably not going to have the research depth that you're hoping to find. That said, they do have some things for everyone, things you may find useful. They have a laminator if you should ever need one, a button maker, a poster printer, and they also have a handful of 3D printers. So if you're ever interested in printing off a model in 3D, or you want guidance in creating your own 3D models to print, talk to their folks. They'd love to hear from you. Now we're going to jump into the library resources, and I wanted you to keep in mind as we look through all of this that what you do use for your project, you're going to want to cite in your works cited or your references page. And that's not just when you quote directly. Whenever you're taking ideas from a book as well, you're going to want to cite it. If it's a website, if it's an article. Ideas or things you take from movies, from podcasts. If you cite music, computer code, lectures, interviews. Anytime you're using someone else's work, you're going to want to create a citation for that. So do your best to avoid plagiarism. I think it's fairly easy to do if you keep citation in mind. For a couple of reasons. I think besides just avoiding plagiarism, extensively citing the research that you've done shows that you've put in the hard work as a researcher, and I think our faculty appreciate that. I think it makes your own work more credible when you demonstrate that you've put the work in, and it's how researchers build on the work of other researchers. As you look at the scholarly articles, as you look through scholarly books, you're going to see that their information is heavily cited as well. There's sort of a chain of ideas going back from publication to publication. And as a student researcher, you're a part of that as well. You're a part of that conversation. So the citations for that can be particularly helpful. And if you ever have any questions about that, get in touch with us at the library, and we'd love to talk to you. So this is what we're going to be looking at primarily. OneSearch, which is the search box on the library homepage. OneSearch is where you're going to want to go to look for physical items in the building, whether that's books or films or government documents. I think OneSearch is a great place as you're just getting started with a topic to sort of brainstorm. You're going to see a lot of literature from a lot of different places in your OneSearch results. And I think OneSearch is especially good for seeking multidisciplinary perspectives. Databases are terrific for collecting the scholarly literature of particular areas of study, particular disciplines, but OneSearch is going to contain a sampling of all of that. So I think it's really good if it's the kind of topic that touches on a lot of different people's literature. But databases are terrific places, and so we're going to have a look at some of those as well. Just some things to keep in mind, as you're going through your initial searches. These are things I keep in mind as I go through mine. Keep an eye on subject headings. Every book, every article that shows up in your search results is assigned subject headings that are meant to sort of capture the content that you're working on. So, for example, if you're looking at an article that's right on the topic you're researching, it looks great, it's something you want to use, but you're having trouble finding other articles. See how that useful article was indexed. Look at the subject headings that were assigned. Those may be great keywords that you can plug into a future search to find more similar materials. Also be thinking about synonyms and related terms. One challenge that any researchers have is that the term that they're using to describe their topic may be accurate, it may be perfectly serviceable, but it may not be the language that every author is using to describe that same topic. So if there's more than one way of saying the same thing, note that and keep all those down written down. I'm going to show you an example in just a couple of minutes. There are literature reviews in the scholarly literature. Some literature reviews, their purpose is, on a very narrow, very specific topic. They go out and they find everything that's been published on that topic, and then they sort of write up a report on that. Those can be terrific places to find additional information. But in any research article, most any scholarly article that you find, early on in the article, there's going to be some sort of review of the literature where the author or the authors point out some of the important, seminal articles that have been published so far on that topic. Those can be great places to find additional articles to track down and use for your projects. And then, as you look through articles, as you look through scholarly books, information of note that those authors encounter and use, they're going to cite as well. Look at their citations to see if there's anything of use to you in those. And through all of this, I would encourage you to take good notes. Even notable and respected authors sometimes get in trouble for things like plagiarism, not because they're intentionally plagiarizing other authors, but because they're taking notes as they work, but they're not connecting those notes to citations, and so their research gets a little sloppy at that point. The more you're writing down as you do your research, the better able you are to avoid any of that. So here's how I begin a search. What I want to do is think of any sort of essential concepts in the topic that I'm researching. So I may have a sort of a general question in mind, something I'm sort of interested in. So for example, are masks effective against COVID? If so, who do they protect? This is something I'm seeing a lot of people talking about. It's the kind of question that it's particularly helpful to know the scholarly or peer-reviewed literature's perspective on. In order for an article to be published in a peer-reviewed or scholarly journal, it undergoes a really rigorous peer review process where other experts in that very narrow topic go through that article with a fine-tooth comb. If there's an experiment conducted, they'll review the methodology of that experiment just to make sure that everything is as correct as it can be, to make sure that it's within the mainstream of knowledge in that field. What survives that peer review process, you can be, rest assured represents, some of the best scholarship in the field. So if we can find some really good scholarly articles on this topic, I think it'll take us a long way toward answering the question. So what are the sort of essential concepts in this particular search, things that I want to see present in anything that shows up in my search results? I can think of three really important concepts in this. COVID, I'm not going to find anything useful on this topic, probably, that doesn't reference COVID in some way. So I do want to search, I only want to see articles that reference it in some way. I only want to see articles that reference masks in some way, since that's another part of my question. And then effectiveness. There may be articles on COVID and masks that have nothing to do with whether or not they're effective. So I'm going to add that third concept to my search. So hopefully I'm seeing more useful, higher quality, more relevant articles in my search results. But that's not quite enough. We talked about synonyms a moment ago. What are some other ways that authors might be describing COVID or might be describing masks or effectiveness? Is there other language? To my mind, there's some other terms authors might be using. Maybe instead of COVID, they'll reference coronavirus or COVID-19, or maybe instead of masks, they reference face masks or masking or PPC. Maybe instead of effectiveness, they reference prevention or efficacy. So you're going to want to sort of brainstorm all the possible language that authors can use. From there, it's just a matter of combining all these terms into a really effective initial search. And in order to do that, whether you're in OneSearch or you're in any of the databases, you're going to want to use what they call Boolean operators. And by Boolean operators, I only mean the words and, or, and not, in particular, and or. Let's say there's two concepts you want to see showing up in any item in your search results. Well, you're going to combine those with the Boolean operator and. So you can see here in the example, cars and navigation. If I only want to see articles where both cars and navigation are addressed, then I'm gonna type in cars and navigation, and that's all I'm gonna see. Now that might still be too broad. Maybe I want to add an additional concept, so I might search cars and navigation and GPS. And now all I'm going to see are articles where all three of those keywords are present. And you can continue to add and keyword concept, and your search results are going to get narrower and narrower more specific. But you know, sometimes you don't know what language authors are using. You know, cars or automobiles. If I do a search on cars, I might miss, you know, articles that reference automobiles but don't necessarily use the word cars. If I search automobiles, I might miss articles where they use the word cars instead. If I search cars or automobiles, it doesn't matter which of the two terms an author is using. I'll still see that show up in my search results. You may not use all that often. Not simply excludes content based on whatever keyword you put in after it. So, you know, if I'm doing a search on cars and I'm seeing a lot of self-driving car articles, I'm not interested in those. I can type in cars not self-driving. It'll give me everything that mentions cars, but if it also mentions self-driving, it'll weed those out of my search results. So I don't have to worry about those. So what I would do at this point is I would combine all the keywords I created along with the Boolean operators we just talked about. So one way I might do this search is COVID-19 or coronavirus, because I don't care which one the authors use, as long as they use one of them, and masks or PPC. I don't care which one the authors use, as long as they use one of them, and efficacy or prevention. Again, it doesn't matter to me which term they use, as long as they use one of the two terms. Alternately, I might set the search up like COVID or coronavirus and masks and effectiveness, where I'm asking it to only give me articles where either COVID or coronavirus and masks and effectiveness are all present in the same item. And from there, it's simply a matter of plugging those into the search. So let's go ahead and demonstrate the databases in OneSearch and how this is going to work. And I should just note the databases, we've got over 400 of them. They all represent very different areas of study, but the search interface is largely the same. You're going to want to put your keywords with search terms, I'm sorry, with Boolean operators. Then you're going to sort of sort through your search results, applying limiters wherever you can to filter out content you know is not helpful. So for example, in this search, we've got 14,000 different search results. That's more than I want to go through, but I'm only interested in scholarly literature. So what I can do is I can click on the scholarly and peer review limiter that you see to the left there, and it's going to weed out everything that's not coming from a scholarly or peer-reviewed journal. So a cluster randomized control trial to test the efficacy of face masks in preventing respiratory viral infection could be helpful. This looks like it was published in 2014. It's not dealing with the particular coronavirus that I'm interested in, but it could be helpful. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hover over the preview, and the databases include this preview option as well. And I'm going to see an abstract or summary of what that particular article contains. Does it look like it's going to be helpful to my research? Maybe. You'll see here the subject headings that were assigned to it. Viral respiratory tract infection, face mask, influenza. I'm not really sure. I'm going to go ahead and throw it in my folder to maybe come back to it later on. Here's an article from 2004. I'm interested in seeing some of the most recent articles first, so I'm going to change the relevance from relevant, the sorting order from relevance to date newest, so I can see some of the newest literature first. And I'm going to change this to COVID-19 to see if that helps. So we've got limiting factors for wearing personal protective equipment in a healthcare environment evaluated in a randomized study. You can see the journal that this was published in, the year it was published in. Once again, we can click the preview and we'll see an abstract or summary of what this particular article contains. If it looks like something that's going to be helpful for answering this particular question, you know, I can add it to my folder. If I want to see the full text of the article, I'll click the full text online, and that should come right up. So here's the article. I can download the PDF if I like. And the idea is you're not looking for one article, you're looking for 4 or 5. So as you continue to do your research, you add things to your folder. I'm going to minimize this just a little bit. And this folder here continues to fill up with different items. When you're done for the day, when you're ready to go, you can click on that folder. There you'll see all the items that you've added. And you can email yourself the items. I would encourage you to also email yourself the search terms that you use to find that item. You put in your email address. Prove you're not a robot. Oh, they're going to make me do it. And once you have, you can hit send, and it's going to email you the articles that you're looking at. You can also, with this drop box, select a citation style. Let's say APA. And in addition to emailing you links to the full text of the articles, it's also going to email you the citation information for those articles, formatted into APA. They may not be 100% correct, but they're certainly going to do the heavy lifting when it comes to creating the citations. Now, the other way you may want to go about this, and this will be the last thing that I want to show you today, is to go via the library databases. If your topic is multidisciplinary, where you want to see, the literature of, business and management and the literature of sociology or social work, OneSearch is a great place to go because you can search for a lot of different disciplines literature. If you know the discipline that you're working within, the databases are a terrific way to connect with peer-reviewed or scholarly literature. We subscribe to around 400 or so of these at any given time. I think we're closer to 430 right now. But as you can see, if you click on all subjects there, we have them divided into different areas of study. So, for example, if we want to learn something about the efficacy of masks, we might want to be looking at the nursing literature or the medical literature. I'm going to go ahead and just click into one of these. And there we're going to get a list of all the different databases that address that particular topic. So for example, we can jump into let's jump into PubMed. PubMed is a really big, broad database of medical literature. So if we jump into PubMed, we add our terms. We can type in masks and efficacy, let's say effectiveness, and COVID-19. And it's going to go through all its search results, and it's going to give us what includes all 3 of our concepts here. As you can see, there were 420 different search results. So physical distancing, face masks, and eye protection to prevent person-to-person transmission of SARS-CoV-2 and COVID-19, a systematic review and meta-analysis. This looks like a terrific article to address this question. So I can click. There's an abstract of the article. And then depending on the database you're in, depending on the location of the publisher, there's going to be some sort of a full text link where you can access the full text of the article. Once again, you should be able to grab citation information for the articles, depending on which database you're in. That tool is going to be located in a different place. Here in PubMed, for example, it's over here in the top corner, and there's an APA citation for this particular article. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing, but I did want to remind you once more, if we can assist you with any aspect of this, we are always available. There's a chat with a librarian button on most of the library's web pages at library.ecu.edu, or you can click on Ask a Librarian, and you'll see a link to chat, our phone number, where you can text message us, where you can email us, and then where you can schedule a one-on-one research consultation with one of the librarians here in the building. I'd welcome an opportunity to answer any questions that you have. Oh yeah, the folder system is pretty helpful, definitely.
Yeah, does Darius, Megan, Sarah, do you guys have any questions? I do just I want to allow some time for questions and answers with over everything he's covered. That way you can get a direct answer. But for me on my level, I know when I would do my research for all of my literature reviews, I would literally just save the article into my notes. So now knowing that that folder exists where I can just email it directly to myself is extremely helpful.
Definitely save some time. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. All right.
That's good to
Well,
hear,
I
Sarah.
think I was about to say no questions is always a good thing too. So thank you again, David, for joining us and giving us that wonderful overview. Again, make sure that you guys, if you need to reach out to him directly, he's put his email in the chat as well as I dropped the actual library website. So thank you again, David, for joining us.
Hey, thanks for giving me the chance. I'll see you all.
Have a good one.
You too.
All right. So I just wanted to mention really, oh, everybody left. Okay. Well, just as we close out, just to kind of reiterate some of the things that David had went over, I'm going to do a short PowerPoint just with some tips of what I've found in my research of researching. So I'm going to share that. Let's see. Okay, so just as a reminder, I do want to mention that if you guys have missed the first two series, that they are posted on our LWCC page on YouTube, and I'll also drop some information in there. But if you want to refer back to the first two, College Now What and then Study Skills, please feel free to do that. And then this recording will also be uploaded to the YouTube channel. So just to kind of bring home and drive its point, I wanted to provide everybody with some 5 steps to planning, especially with a research paper, literature review, whatever you're specifically working on for your course. So the 5 tips that we'll go over, and it'll be really quick, but I'll go into depth a little bit about each one. One, making sure you're defining your topic. Um, that's pretty much the first step for any kind of research paper. You have to have a general idea about what your topic is going to be. And you can base this off of your professor's overview or what they wish to have. The second is planning your research. So, a lot of what David showed us today about utilizing those blockers, putting in those key search term words to find scholarly articles, that's where you'll find a lot of that, especially for step 3, searching for your resources. The fourth step is going to be creating an outline. This way, it can kind of help you get through the brainstorming process. And then the fifth step is actually sitting down, breaking down, and writing your paper. So, for defining your topic, the purpose of this is obviously to select and refine the topic of your paper. The tip that I found most helpful and I wanted to share with you guys was usage of a mind map. So I put some examples because I'm not 100% sure if everybody knows how to create a mind map. But ideally, the purpose of a mind map is starting with these big bubbles. So you'll get a piece of paper, you'll draw an oval in the middle of the paper, and that'll be your super vague topic. So whatever you thought about or whatever your professor has assigned you. From there, pretty much what you'll do is draw lines out of the oval to create smaller ovals. And in those smaller ovals, you'll write more specific ideas or topics related to that central one. You'll want to repeat that about 3 to 5 times until until you pretty much filled up that page with different topic ideas. And then based on how specific you got on that idea or topic, you'll go to choose one of those and move forward with the next process. So for planning your research, again, David mentioned a lot about using those key terms to find your resources. So make sure that you're gathering background information to help you find those search items. I know one tip that I have found helpful is one, obviously utilizing general academic databases like ECU Library, EBSCOhost, or Google Scholar. Um, Also, just maybe take 15 minutes doing some general research on each topic. This can give you a better idea about what you're looking to go into depth with, or it can maybe help you come up with a topic that you might have not considered previously. So for step 3, actually searching for your resources. The purpose here is to find resources such as journal articles and books. I know a lot of time in my research, I do a lot of journal articles, not so much books. But then again, it kind of just depends on your major and what your professor is looking for. Um, as David mentioned, obviously you don't want to just find one key source or one journal article that you're pulling all of your information from. You want to make sure you have a variety of sources. That way you can kind of mix the information into your paper. Also, I mentioned I never really utilized the folder. So now having all of your sources in one place by using the actual ECU library's website library database, that'll be helpful to you guys as well. So making sure that you're keeping your sources in one place. You don't have it on the back of a note card and then you're searching to find it later. So make use of that folder on the ECU library webpage. And then, like he mentioned, you can email it directly to yourself. Saves yourself so much time. Also, make sure that you're focusing on your a few keywords because you don't want to overwhelm it. So it lets you pretty much engage deeply with the source as well. You're finding those highlighted key terms that are within that paper. So that gives you an idea that this will be utilized for the paper in the long run, and it would be a creditable source to add. It also just gives you a variety of perspectives. Again, you don't want to rely solely on one particular journal article. You want to make sure you have a good variety of different articles. This way you can provide different perspectives and different insights from different authors. It also points you to further resources. So I love to do this at the end of a journal article that I may have read and found a few notes to put into my paper. I always try to scroll down to the bottom and see what citations did they use for their paper. That's always helpful, especially when you're going back to figure out, where did that citation exactly come from. Always scrolling to the bottom of where they provided their resources is always going to be helpful. Also, it just kind of keeps you focused on your main topic, and then also maybe spring new ideas that you may not have thought of previously. So step 4, creating an outline. So obviously the purpose here is working on an outline to begin drafting your paper. You want to kind of come up with a thesis based off of the journal articles and the research that you have already done to help you create an outline of your research paper. So a tip here, always skim through the article and look at section headings, subheadings, main titles, any charts, any, what's the word I'm looking for? Any citations on the bottom of the charts or explanations, descriptions. Make sure you skim over the basic stuff first. And then you're going to want to write down and highlight important points. This way you have an idea about where exactly you're referring back to and making your search a little bit easier. I've also decided to add in a general outline that you guys can refer to. So obviously, the main parts of the paper are introduction, a body, and then a conclusion. So as you can see here, and this might differentiate based on what kind of paper you're writing, but you'll always want to have an introduction. You can always start with a story or something that grabs the reader's attention, like a statistic. Then you'll go into your thesis statement and then kind of transition out to what the paper is going to be about to move into your body paragraphs. Ideally, you'll always kind of want about 3 to 5 body paragraphs, again, depending on the length of your paper. But as you can see here on the side, they have A, B, and C. So these are kind of those 3 different resources that they're pulling from. And that kind of helps you as far as pulling up examples, details, and explanations. You can also get creative and kind of mix those up. So where you're having your first body paragraph, your main point 1, maybe you're pulling the B explanation and putting it into 1 because the authors had opposing views. Try to make it work and make it flow as well. And then you'll always want to end off with your conclusion. So you'll be restating your thesis, what you found that supports that thesis, a summary, and then concluding your paper as a whole. And so my last tip for you in writing your paper, obviously make sure that you use your thesis, use your outline and your research that you've conducted to write the paper. Some tips here that I always just wanted to leave you guys off with. Make sure that you're using your thesis statement, outline of the paper, and the collection of the notes. So hopefully you were taking notes as well throughout reading through the articles. So you're not having to reread each article each time, but you pretty much have a basis of what was the importance and the highlights from each article. Also, start with what you feel more comfortable with, and then move from there. So don't feel as though you have to start with the hardest article or the longest article, but which article for you was maybe the easiest to kind of sort through and had the most bulk of the information that you need for your topic. Also, even though you've maybe found 3 to 5 resources, do additional research if you need it. Again, it's never a problem to have more than enough citations, but it is an issue when you don't have enough. Obviously, I think everybody can relate to this, but make sure you're saving your work as you go. So make sure you have it on auto save, especially if you're using OneDrive, it's already going to do this for you. But there have been times where I've written a paper and I've gotten to the end and exited and didn't save it and was article. So I kind of referred to Google Docs since then, but obviously just making sure you're saving your work as you're writing it. Again, citing your sources. ECU's library databases is so awesome in the fact that they already have citations for you depending on what you need it in, MLA, APA, Chicago style. So you don't even have to do your own creating of the sources or referring to citation machine. And then obviously you're going to want to end off and making sure that you're proofreading your final draft. So there are the 5 tips that I wanted to share with you. That way you guys feel a little bit more comfortable in engaging in starting your own research. All right, again, as I mentioned, if you missed out on our other workshop series, please feel free to visit the LWCC at ecu.edu YouTube page. The rest of the series will also be uploaded here, and then we have the last one that is going to be focusing on finals. And that one's going to take place on November 12th. So I hope to see you guys there. I hope this workshop 3 was helpful and useful to you. Again, making sure you're reaching out to David or any other additional librarians at the library for assistance if you need be, but always use that website as your main point of focus. Have a good one.